Welcome to the deep dive. Ever stop to think about how much we say without actually speaking?
It's kind of staggering, isn't it? When you look at the research, some sources suggest up to 80% of our communication isn't the words themselves.
Exactly. It's all that other stuff. Your body language, the look on your face, even, your tone, your whole nonverbal vocabulary.
And this layer, the one we often don't even consciously notice, it shapes almost every single interaction we have, whether we realize it or not.
So our mission today is to really dive into the material we've gathered on this. We want to help you, the listener, get a better handle on these powerful silent signals.
Yeah, we'll be exploring the science behind it, the psychology, and the real-world applications. Stuff like facial expressions, posture, eye contact, hand gestures, the works.
And this isn't just like interesting trivia. Understanding this stuff can genuinely make you a better communicator.
Absolutely. You start to pick up on what others might be feeling, underneath the surface. And it gives you valuable insights into yourself, too. It's sort of a shortcut to understanding human connection better.
Okay, so our bodies are constantly talking, but what are they really saying? And I guess how reliable is all this? Because it sounds powerful, but...
But it's definitely not always foolproof. That's a really important point. You have to be, careful. Interpretation needs caution.
Why is that?
Well, for one, someone might be deliberately controlling their nonverbals. Think of a skilled negotiator, maybe.
Or a poker player trying not to give anything away.
Exactly, controlling their tells. So you have that conscious manipulation on one hand.
But then there are also signals that just leak out unintentionally.
Precisely. They happen whether you mean them to or not. And this is really crucial. A single gesture, say crossed arms, it can mean totally different things. It all depends on the whole situation. Context is absolutely everything.
That makes complete sense. You can't just isolate one thing. So, talking about context, what are some of the big factors that change how we use and understand body language? Because it's not universal. Right?
Oh, absolutely not. Cultural differences are huge. Take eye contact, for example. In many Western cultures, looking someone in the eye, that signals interest, sincerity. It's seen as positive.
Right. Standard stuff, you'd think.
But, in some Eastern cultures, avoiding a long, direct gaze might actually be a sign of respect. It's deference. Completely different meaning.
Wow. That's a huge difference. And nodding, we usually take that as, yes, I agree.
We do, yeah, in the West, generally. But in some other places, a nod might just mean I'm listening or I acknowledge you said something. Not necessarily agreement at all.
So you could really misunderstand someone just based on a nod.
Easily. It just highlights how much nuance is involved.
It really does. And it's not just culture, is it? You mentioned developmental differences, too.
That's right. Think about neurodiverse individuals. Someone might fidget quite a bit.
And the immediate assumption might be, oh, they're bored or distracted.
Exactly. A very common and often wrong assumption. For that person, fidgeting might actually be a way to increase focus. Or maybe it's self-soothing, managing anxiety.
So jumping to conclusions based on one signal is risky.
Very risky. And you also have psychological factors like social anxiety. Someone might really struggle to make eye contact.
Not because they're hiding something, but because it's genuinely uncomfortable for them.
Precisely. So being aware of all these potential influences, culture, neurodiversity, anxiety, it's vital before you decide what something means.
Okay, so our bodies are talking, sometimes contradicting our words. What happens then? Does our brain pick a side? Which message does it trust more?
That's where it gets really fascinating. The research suggests our brains actually tend to prioritize the nonverbal signals.
Really? Over the actual words?
Yeah. If you get those mixed messages like someone says, oh, I'm fine, but their face looks, pained or their body's all tense, your brain instinctively leans towards trusting the body's story.
So if I say I'm fine, but I look miserable, your brain is probably going, nope, not fine.
Pretty much. It trusts the pain, not the words, which is incredibly powerful when you think about it.
It really is.
So what that means is to truly get what's going on, you have to look at the whole picture.
The words, all the different nonverbal signals, the situation, everything together.
Exactly. Trying to just isolate one little signal like a twitch or a glance, that's where misinterpretations happen all the time.
Okay, context is king. Got it. But if we're trying to spot these signals in the moment, where do people usually look first? I mean, the face seems like the obvious place.
Absolutely. The face is, it's ground zero for expression. It's often considered the most universal part of body language.
Universal how?
Well, those core emotions, joy, anger, fear, surprise, sadness, disgust, they tend to be recognized pretty consistently across different cultures. It's like our faces have this basic primal language.
Built-in communication. So our face is broadcasting stuff constantly, whether we like it or not. What about something simple, like a smile? Is a smile just a smile?
Ah, great question. No, definitely not. There's often a big difference between a genuine smile, they call it a Duchenne smile, and one that might be, let's say, less sincere.
Duchenne smile. How does that work?
A real Duchenne smile involves not just the mouth corners turning up. Critically, the muscles around the eyes contract too. You get those little crinkles at the corners.
The smiling eyes?
Exactly. That signals genuine warmth. An insincere smile might just be the mouth doing the work. The eyes aren't really involved.
Just knowing that difference feels useful already. Okay, then there are those super fast signals you hear about micro-expressions. What's the deal with those?
They are incredibly fast. Tiny involuntary flashes across the face, maybe only lasting like 125th of a second.
Wow, that quick.
Yeah. And because they're involuntary, they can actually reveal an emotion someone is actively trying to hide, like a quick flicker of anger or maybe fear before they catch themselves.
A little window into what they're really feeling, even if just for an instant.
Precisely. Unfiltered emotion.
Fascinating. And then, of course, the eyes themselves, the windows to the soul idea. What are they telling us?
Oh, so much. Eye gaze. For starters, direct contact usually signals interest, attention. It shows you're engaged.
But too much can be intense.
Right, or even feel threatening. On the flip side, looking away can signal distraction, discomfort, maybe hesitation. Interestingly, some suggest looking to the side might be better than looking down if you're feeling unsure, as looking down can sometimes read as lacking confidence.
Where someone's eyes drift can tell you what they're interested in.
Often, yeah. Their natural focus point.
What about blinking? Are there myths about that? Like blinking fast means you're lying.
Ah, the blinking myths. Well, blinking patterns can offer clues. Rapid blinking might suggest stress, discomfort, anxiety, or even just thinking hard. It's often linked to emotional arousal.
But not necessarily lying.
Definitely not. This is a critical debunking. Research does not reliably link rapid blinking to dishonesty. There's no simple liar's blink. That's a myth we really need to let go of.
Okay, good to know. No secret lie detector in the blink rate.
Nope. And conversely, really infrequent blinking. That could mean someone is consciously trying to control their movements. Like our poker player again, trying to keep a steady gaze.
Makes sense. And pupil size. Is that really a thing?
It is, though it's subtle. Pupil dilation, when they get bigger, can suggest positive feelings, interest, attraction, or just general arousal of the nervous system.
And smaller pupils.
Contraction might suggest dislike or negativity. But again, it's subtle and needs context.
It's amazing how much detail is packed into just the eyes and face. Any other little facial tells we should be aware of?
Oh, sure. There's the glabella, that spot between your eyebrows. It can tighten up when someone's concentrating hard or maybe feeling frustrated. Or sometimes you see a little bunny nose wrinkle, just a tiny scrunch. That can signal dislike.
A bunny nose wrinkle.
In lips. Lips are very expressive, pressed into a thin line. Often means something's bothering someone.
Right, like they're holding back.
Yeah, or if they're really troubled or trying hard not to say something, they might even suck their lips inward.
Okay, so the face is a powerhouse. But the rest of the body doesn't just sit there, right? Our hands, for instance, they always seem to be moving.
You're absolutely right. Hands have a whole language of their own. They're incredibly active communicators.
Like what are some common hand signals?
Well, tapping fingers often signals impatience, maybe nervousness.
You've all done that one.
Oh, yeah. Then there's steepling, touching the fingertips together like a little roof. Often associated with authority, feeling in control, confidence.
Interesting. What about open hands?
Palms up, open hands. That frequently signals openness, like nothing to hide. Rubbing hands together can show excitement, anticipation.
Okay.
Touching the cheek might mean someone's thinking, evaluating something, maybe interested. Pulling on an earlobe could suggest indecisiveness, trying to make a decision.
Now, you mentioned earlier that some things get misinterpreted a lot, especially around deception. Can you highlight some of those again, the big ones to avoid?
Yeah, this is really important because these myths are just so persistent. Things like rubbing your eyes.
Which could just mean you're tired.
Exactly. Or maybe doubt, disbelief. But people jump to conclusions. Same with touching or rubbing the nose. That's the classic one people think signals lying.
The Pinocchio thing.
Right. But it's very often wrongly linked.
Yeah.
Or covering the mouth could be hiding a yawn. Could be hiding an emotion. Could be disapproval. The point is, these are frequently just what psychologists call pacifying behaviors.
Pacifying behaviors. What does that mean exactly?
They're basically self-soothing actions, things we do unconsciously without thinking when we feel stressed or uncomfortable or uncertain. It's like we're trying to calm ourselves down.
So rubbing your nose might just mean you're feeling a bit awkward or stressed, not that you're fibbing.
Precisely. The big takeaway here is there is no reliable Pinocchio effect. No single gesture guarantees deception. Research is very clear on this. Relying on one cue like that is just asking to misread the situation.
That's such a crucial clarification. Okay, moving down arms and legs, crossed arms. That's the classic closed-off signal, right?
It is the classic interpretation, yes. Defensive, closed off, maybe insecure. But it's not always that simple.
More context needed.
Always. It can also be a self-soothing action, kind of like giving yourself a little hug, especially if you're feeling stressed or cold. And sometimes, someone's leaning back, looking relaxed, maybe even smiling with their arms crossed. That could actually signal confidence, feeling in control.
So you have to look at the whole posture, the facial expression, everything.
The whole cluster of signals. What about crossed legs?
Does that follow the same kind of logic?
Somewhat. Crossing at the ankles might suggest someone's holding something back a bit. Crossing higher up, at the knee. Especially if the top leg is angled away from the person you're talking to. That can signal discomfort or maybe disinterest.
And that pose where people put their ankle on the other knee, the figure four.
The figure four. Yeah, particularly if the leg is sticking out quite a bit. That's often read as a sign of, power, dominance, or confidence. It takes up more space.
So generally, open posture, arms and legs uncrossed, suggests more openness.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
Confidence, approachability, being open to interaction. And then you have all those little fidgety movements, tapping feet, jiggling legs, shifting weight constantly.
Nervous energy.
Usually betray some inner state, yeah.
Yeah.
Nervousness, restlessness, maybe boredom, or even frustration.
It's wild how much our lower body gives away without us thinking. I've even heard the direction our feet point matters. Is that true?
It often is, yeah. It's subtle, but if someone's talking to you, but their feet are angled towards the door,
Yeah.
unconsciously, they might be signaling they want to leave.
Whereas if they're pointed towards you.
They're likely engaged in the conversation. It's a small cue, but telling.
What about hands on hips? That one feels like it could go either way.
It definitely can be ambiguous. It might mean I'm ready, I'm feeling assertive, I'm in control, but it can also come across as aggressive or territorial, depending on everything else.
Any nuances there?
Some suggest if the thumbs are pointing forward, it indicates more inquisitiveness, like, okay, what's happening here? But again, it's context dependent.
And hands clasped behind the back.
Another ambiguous one could be anger, apprehension, frustration, could be boredom.
Yep.
Could even be someone trying hard to appear calm when they're actually feeling anxious. These the whole picture.
Okay, so beyond limbs and faces, our overall posture, how we hold ourselves, that must say a lot too, maybe even subconsciously.
Oh, absolutely. Posture speaks volumes about our feelings, even perceived traits like confidence or submissiveness.
Like sitting up straight versus slouching.
Exactly. Sitting up straight generally suggests focus, engagement. Being hunched over might communicate boredom, indifference, or maybe feeling down.
And leaning.
Leaning back could signal disinterest or relaxation, depending. But leaning in, that's a pretty clear signal of interest, excitement, engagement.
Standing tall conveys confidence.
Often, yes. Confidence, eagerness.
And those little things like resting your head in your hand.
Right. Resting your head in one hand might mean you're thinking, considering something, but supporting your head with both hands. That usually signals boredom or tiredness.
What about tilting your head?
Tilting the head slightly, or even the whole body. That can show interest, concentration, trying to hear better, sometimes even attraction.
It's like our whole body is angling towards what interests us.
In many ways, yes. And beyond our physical bodies, there's also this unseen language of personal space.
The comfort zone bubble.
Exactly. That's where proxemics comes in the study of personal space. The distance we naturally keep sends signals about our relationship and comfort level.
Are there defined distances?
Well, anthropologist Edward T. Hall famously identified 4 main levels. There's intimate distance, maybe 6 to 18 inches, for hugging, whispering, very close relationships.
Very close.
Then personal distance, roughly 1.5 to 4 feet, usually for family, close friends. The closer end signals more intimacy.
Okay.
Social distance, maybe 4 to 12 feet. That's for acquaintances, more formal interactions, business colleagues.
Right, keeping a bit more space.
And finally, public distance, 12 feet, 25 feet, or even more. That's for public speaking, addressing a large group.
And like everything else, this must vary wildly by culture.
Oh, massively. People from, say, some Latin American or Middle Eastern cultures might naturally stand much closer during a conversation than folks from North America and Northern Europe generally feel comfortable with.
So what feels normal to one person might feel invasive to another.
Precisely. And actions within that space, stepping towards someone, backing away, even just putting up a hand like a subtle barrier, those are all clear, silent signals about wanting more or less closeness.
Okay, so we've covered face, eyes, hands, arms, legs, posture, space. It's a lot. Putting it all together, what's the main takeaway?
I think the biggest thing is that body language is incredibly complex. You just cannot interpret one single signal in isolation and expect to be accurate.
Right. It's not like learning a code where A always means X. You need the whole context.
Exactly. You have to combine the verbal message, what's actually being said, with all the different nonverbal cues you're picking up on, and the overall situation, the relationship, the culture, everything. Nonverbals alone aren't the full story.
It's the whole package.
Precisely. You know, there's a really compelling story about this involving an FBI agent who was exceptionally good at spotting deception.
This sounds interesting. Because everyone wants to know how to spot a liar, right? But we already know the common tells are often myths. So how did this agent do it?
Well, that's the key. He wasn't looking for those typical mythical lying cues like avoiding eye contact or fidgeting. Instead, he focused on assessing the whole picture.
Everything the person was transmitting relative to the situation.
Exactly. And he actually spotted a potential spy based on something incredibly subtle. It involved flowers.
Flowers. Okay, I didn't see that coming. How?
He noticed how this person carried a bouquet of flowers after leaving a shop. They held them by the stems, with the blooms pointing downwards.
Okay. Is that unusual?
It was unusual for that person in that specific context and location. Apparently, it's a more common way to carry flowers in certain parts of Eastern Europe, but it was an anomaly for this individual's observed behavior. It was a tiny detail.
Just a little deviation from the norm for them.
Exactly, a shift from their baseline. It wasn't proof of anything on its own, of course, but that tiny, subtle anomaly prompted further investigation.
Which led to something significant.
It eventually led to a confession about espionage, yes. The story really underscores the power of observing shifts from baseline behavior, how someone acts normally versus how they're acting now, rather than relying on those popular, unreliable myths like nose-touching always means lying.
That's a fantastic example. It's about noticing change, not just static signs. And it highlights that we're always sending out these signals, aren't we? Whether we mean to or not.
Constantly. How we groom ourselves, the clothes we choose, our posture even when we think no one's watching, tiny shifts in position. It's all part of this continuous silent communication stream.
Okay. So, for us listening, how can we actually get better at this, at noticing and understanding these cues in others, and maybe just as importantly in ourselves? What are some practical steps?
That's the key question, isn't it? First, I'd say just start by consciously paying attention. Make an effort to observe others' nonverbals, but also, and this is crucial, become more aware of your own. Do you tend to look at the floor when you feel unsure? Do you cross your arms when challenged? Noticing your own habits is the first step to managing them.
Self-awareness. Okay, and if we see something ambiguous in someone else, like, say, clenched fists, should we just assume they're angry?
Definitely not assume. Jumping to conclusions is where things go wrong. If the situation allows and it feels appropriate, maybe consider gently asking something open-ended, like, how are you feeling, or what's on your mind?
Ask, don't assume.
Exactly. And always, always try to get a sense of an individual's usual behavior at their baseline. A shift from that baseline is often far more telling than any single gesture viewed in isolation.
Right. Focusing on that change again. That seems really powerful.
It is. And eye contact, aim for appropriate eye contact. Not staring intensely, obviously, but enough to show you're engaged and also to help you pick up on their facial cues. Find that comfortable balance.
But don't get so lost in decoding that you miss what they're actually saying.
Absolutely a critical point.
Yeah.
The verbal and nonverbal work together. You need both. Don't become so obsessed with playing detective with body language that you stop listening to the words. It's about integration.
Integrating both channels. Makes sense.
And always, always remember those variables we talked about. Cultural differences, developmental differences like neurodiversity, psychological factors like social anxiety. They all profoundly influence how cues are used and understood. What looks like defensiveness might be cultural habit. What looks like distraction might be neurodivergence. What looks like dishonesty might be anxiety.
So empathy and context are vital. Now, beyond just observing others, how can we intentionally use our own body language to communicate more effectively?
This is where you can really take control and improve your interactions. Things like maintaining an open posture, uncrossed arms and legs where appropriate, using suitable eye contact, offering genuine smiles, remembering the eye crinkles.
The Duchenne smile.
That's the one. These things help convey interest, warmth, friendliness. Finding balance is key, too. Like a handshake should be firm, but not bone-crushing.
Right, appropriate intensity.
And developing your emotional intelligence is huge here. Understanding your own feelings helps you gauge how others might be perceiving your nonverbals. It also helps you notice what your own body is telling you. That tight jaw, slumped shoulders. Maybe that's your body signaling stress before you even fully clocked it consciously.
Like our body gives us these little early warnings. And isn't there research showing that just changing our posture can actually affect how we feel?
Yes, there is. The whole power posing idea got a bit controversial, but the underlying principle holds weight. Simply standing or sitting up straighter, adopting a more confident posture, can actually give you a little mood boost, increase feelings of self-esteem. It can be genuinely helpful, especially when you're feeling stressed or need a bit of confidence. It's a fascinating feedback loop between body and mind.
Mind affecting body, body affecting mind.
Exactly. So I think what this whole deep dive shows is that body language is just this incredibly rich, complex, constantly running commentary beneath the surface of our words.
Always there, a continuous flow of signals. And observing it thoughtfully, remembering context, combining it with the words that can offer truly powerful insights
into ourselves and into others. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Knowing that we're all constantly transmitting this nonverbal information, whether we intend to or not,
Okay.
how does that awareness change the way you observe the interactions happening around you every day?
What more is there for you to notice now in those quiet, unsaid moments between the words?
It definitely gives you a lot more to tune into.
It certainly does. We really encourage you to take this awareness out into the world and continue exploring this fascinating silent language. Thanks so much for tuning in to The Deep Dive. Programs, really top-tier global education.
The famous names everyone knows.
Often, yeah. Places like Harvard, Oxford, ETH, Zurich, and Switzerland. These aren't just names. They're genuine hubs of innovation, critical thinking, groundbreaking research. They offer super specialized courses you might not find anywhere else, research opportunities that can really set you up for your career, professors who are leaders in their fields.
Can you give a concrete example of what that access really means?
Sure. Think about that marine biology student again, choosing Australia to be near the Great Barrier Reef. That's direct, hands-on experience with a unique ecosystem. It's like a living lab.
Yep.
Or an engineering student going to TU Munich in Germany, known globally for its technical focus and applying theory directly to practice. These places offer top facilities, amazing libraries, just a really dynamic intellectual environment.
What often surprises students, I think, is getting exposed to totally different ways of teaching. It can be a real contrast to back home.
That's a huge point. It genuinely makes your academic toolkit much broader, much more flexible.
How so? How does it change how you actually learn things?
Well, take the UK. Seminar-based learning is really common there. Lots of discussion, debate. You have to articulate your ideas clearly. It's not passive.
Right. Very different from just lectures.
Very. Or in Scandinavia, they often emphasize project-based learning, working in teams, solving problems together. Great for collaboration skills, which you need everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And in Germany, you often find the strong link between theory and practical hands-on training, making sure what you learn is directly applicable.
So if you're used to just lectures, it's a whole new ballgame.
Totally. Imagine, say, a student from India who's mostly experienced lectures. They might find these interactive European classes really stimulating. It forces them to adapt, develop new learning strategies, builds versatility.
Beyond the different styles, there's also just the academic challenge itself, right? That rigor must build discipline.
Absolutely. It's not just what you learn, but learning how to learn under that kind of pressure in a new system. It really builds discipline, sharpens your time management skills. Just figuring out a new academic system, often in a second language, that takes serious organization, planning.
Like different types of exams.
Yeah.
Or mastering new academic words.
Exactly. Preparing for oral exams, which are common in parts of Europe, needs different skills than written tests. Confidence, quick thinking. Or having to master academic French for essays in France. That's tough, but builds resilience.
And for English learners?
Oh, for advanced English learning, it's like a boot camp. You're pushed constantly, reading complex texts, writing nuanced papers, debating ideas in seminars. You have to use sophisticated vocabulary, complex structures. It's intense, practical application that takes your English to a whole new level.
So these aren't just academic hurdles, they become life skills.
No doubt. They translate directly to success in grad school or demanding jobs. You gain this deeper appreciation for global standards and for what you're capable of. Now, shifting to personal growth, studying abroad is just this incredible journey of self-discovery and independence.
You're often properly on your own for the first time, maybe?
Precisely. Living independently in a foreign country, it just fosters this deep sense of self-reliance. You're managing daily stuff, budgeting, cooking, navigating things maybe others handled before.
Right.
Take learning Tokyo's massive subway system. Seems small, but mastering that, it hugely boosts your self-reliance, problem-solving, spatial awareness, builds real practical confidence.
And it must build incredible resilience, too. Things will go wrong.
Oh, they will. You'll face challenges, language barriers at first, maybe visa delays, lost luggage. But these aren't just annoyances, they're opportunities for real growth. Think of a student in Spain, maybe struggling with spoken Spanish initially, but through persistence, daily practice, willingness to make mistakes, they get confident, fluent. Overcoming stuff like that builds serious emotional strength, prepares you for future bumps in the road.
And being immersed in a new culture, that must change how you see yourself, too. Makes you more self-aware.
It really does. Massively enhances self-awareness.
Yeah.
When you're constantly seeing different ways of life, different values, it makes you reflect on your own values, beliefs, cultural assumptions.
It makes you question things you just took for granted.
Exactly. It can be startling, but powerful, embracing new perspectives. Like a U.S. student in India, they start appreciating their own background more, but also gain new perspectives on community, family, maybe by experiencing a traditional wedding.
Oh. Okay.
It helps you understand your own identity better, seeing it reflected against something different.
And navigating all that ambiguity must make you incredibly adaptable, open-minded.
Totally invaluable skills. Learning to read subtle cues, understanding different expectations, adjusting to a different pace of life, maybe moving from a huge city to a small town in Europe. You learn to be flexible, thrive in those gray areas.
And interacting with so many different people must really boost your emotional intelligence.
It does. Engaging constantly with diverse peers builds that EQ, builds cross-cultural communication skills. You learn to navigate nuances, develop real empathy for different viewpoints.
Could you give an example of that in action?
Imagine a student volunteering on a community project in South Africa. Through that direct experience, they learn patience, understand social complexities firsthand. These are fundamental qualities for working effectively anywhere in the world today.
And the cultural enrichment itself, that's a massive part of it all.
It's often the defining part, where the best memories come from. It's true immersion. You're not just watching, you're doing.
Like joining festivals, learning local skills.
Absolutely. Picture a student in Italy getting swept up in carnival, the energy, the tradition, or learning to cook proper pasta from a local grandmother. These experiences, they deepen your understanding of heritage, create amazing memories, build that appreciation for global diversity.
And language learning plays a big role here.
Huge. It's an incredibly powerful gateway to deeper cultural understanding. Even basic phrases help so much. And for advanced English learners, say in Australia, it's not just about grammar, it's about understanding slang like fair dinkum. That adds cultural depth you don't get in class. It helps you connect with locals on a much more real level.
And through all this immersion, that global awareness, that empathy, it just grows, right? You see things differently.
In remarkable ways. A student in South Africa gains insights into economic inequality. A student in China at Lunar New Year understands family traditions differently. It fosters a more compassionate, connected worldview, which leads naturally to the connections you make.
Ah, yes, the lifelong friends.
Exactly, forming these deep connections with locals, with other international students from everywhere. Shared experiences really bond people.
Definitely.
Celebrating Oktoberfest together, hiking Machu Picchu, a tea ceremony in Japan, Diwali in India. These become cherished memories. They broaden your perspective, build empathy. And that network, it's global, lasts a lifetime, offers support opportunities.
Okay, moving beyond the huge personal and cultural stuff, let's talk tangible career advantages. Studying abroad really boosts your employability, doesn't it?
Oh, significantly. In today's global job market, it's becoming a real differentiator. It's not just nice to have
You have data on that.
Yeah, there was a study, Institute of International Education 2018, found nearly two-thirds, 64% of employers value study abroad experience when hiring.
Wow. Okay.
It signals unique skills, a global mindset companies really want.
The he skill must be that cross-cultural communication you mentioned.
Absolutely. Honed daily by navigating different environments. Think about a business student in China, learning to negotiate effectively, sensitively with international partners. That's gold in any global role. You learn it by doing it.
And the networking opportunities must be huge.
Happens almost naturally. Connecting with professors, diverse classmates, professionals through internships or university events.
Like landing a great internship.
Precisely. A student in London gets an internship at a big global firm, say Deloitte or HSBC. Instant contacts. These networks span continents, offer long-term career support, job leads.
And just the fact that you coped with a foreign system, that must impress employers. Shows adaptability, problem solving.
Big time. It shows you can innovate, persevere, like a student in Brazil overcoming language barriers to succeed academically. That shouts initiative, resilience. Or sorting out a complex schedule issue in a German university. Shows organization, creative problem solving. These are concrete, transferable skills.
And finally, there are those really specific career opportunities.
Right. Directly aligned with competitive fields. Imagine a fashion student in Paris interning at Chanel, or a tech student in Singapore working with an AI startup.
Wow.
You get unparalleled practical insights, hands-on skills, builds a strong foundation, a great portfolio, gives you a real head start.
Okay, the benefits are massive, clearly. But let's be real. It's not all smooth sailing. We have to talk about the challenges.
Absolutely essential.
Yeah.
Acknowledging the hurdles is key to preparing for them. And the first big one, often, is money. The financial pressure.
Yeah, it can be seriously expensive. Sticker shock is real.
It can be. Top U.S. universities, tuition can top $50,000 a year. UK, Australia, maybe $20K, $40K. Still a huge amount. And that's before living costs. Big cities, London, Tokyo, New York, are notoriously pricey. Rent alone can be, what, 800, 1,200 pounds a month in London? Easily.
And currency swings can wreck a budget overnight.
They really can, especially if your home currency isn't strong. Plus, you've got the hidden costs. Visa fees, maybe $100, $500.
Yeah.
Mandatory health insurance Canada, maybe $600 or $1,000 a year. Flights home, $1,000 plus each time. You need a buffer, a contingency fund.
So how do you even begin to manage that? It sounds quite daunting.
It is, but it's doable